My wife, Audrey, has been amazing to me. Tall, 180 centimeters tall, slender, with brown blonde hair. I like tall, slender women, and she was perfect. Breasts of the first size, thin waist, narrow hips, and buttocks so large that you could crack walnuts. When we first met and she looked at me, her eyes lit up like a child seeing all the presents under the Christmas tree for the first time on Christmas morning. My height is 188 centimeters. I was on the swim team in school, so I had a swimmer's body. All our friends always joke. They knew what we thought about each other because we smiled so much. And sex. It was fantastic. For the first 2 years, we met to have sex. Any communication after that was purely an accident. It was amazing. Then Audrey made her mistake. Her bug was Brad, the basketball team's center forward. Brad is 210 centimeters tall. Hell, everyone I knew messaged me that night, telling me to look at Instagram photos or sending me photos from the party. Audrey was hanging on this guy, and later photos appeared of Brad and Audrey kissing. Finally, a friend at the party sent me a video of Bradley pulling her by the hand into his room with a big smile on his face. I was furious. The next day around noon, I went to her apartment, and she was still sleeping in her room. When she woke up, I showed her the pictures, and she told me what happened. At least she was honest. She went there with friends. She met up with Brad, whom she had briefly known before, and they began spending time together. It got dark, and she didn't notice how much she drank. Brad invited her into his room to show her his trophies. The next thing she knew, they were kissing. She said she doesn't even remember them having sex. She told me she was drunk and made a stupid mistake. She loved only me and was terribly sorry for her mistake, and that it would not happen again. She said she was ready to do whatever I wanted if only I would forgive her. She said she loved me and wanted to spend the rest of her life with me. All of her friends and most of my buddies told me that it was a one-time mistake on her part and that I should have taken her back. Most of my buddies who said this also claimed that she was the sexiest girl I could ever have, and that I would never find another one like her. I remained angry with her for almost 2 weeks before I forgave her and took advantage of the all-inclusive offer. She constantly told me how sorry she was, and by the time I forgave her, I was already going crazy. But I told Audrey that if it happens again, we're done, that she was lucky to get this one chance. Looking back many years later, almost all of those guys who told me to forgive her because she was so hot are in lousy relationships because they choose women for all the wrong reasons. Every single guy who told me to leave her is happily married, not one of them got divorced. There seems to be something about prioritizing fidelity over sexuality. I didn't know then. Except for that one mistake, Audrey seemed perfect. I got a job as a programmer. Audrey got a job as an administrator in a large company. She had to commute 45 minutes each way to work. I worked from home most of the time. We got married at the end of the year and had our first child, Matt, the following year. The following year, our daughter Marcy was born. Life was good. My career was taking off. At some point, Audrey decided that she wanted to earn more money and started selling real estate. With her natural height and beauty, she began to specialize in more expensive homes. Audrey's income also increased. Then Audrey's work hours began to increase, including weekend work, and our sex life decreased. To say that I am a person who believes but tests would be an understatement. I haven't forgotten what happened. Within a week, I installed monitoring software on her smartphone and a voice recorder in her bag. 2 days later, I received tapes of her having sex with some guy named David. According to the GPS on her phone, they were in his apartment, which was located on the other side of the city from her office. My heart was broken. Like a drowning man looking for something to hold on to, I clung to the fact that they never spoke or corresponded about anything affectionate. There is no, I love you. There is no, you are the best. There is no, I missed this. I felt like I still had a chance to do something to get her back for my sake and the kids' sake. When she returned home, I prepared her favorite dish. The children were dressed especially cute. I paid her a lot of attention. She seemed to enjoy the attention. I told her how much I loved her and that we needed to spend more time together and as a family. She agreed. I was happy. I had a chance. I was on my way to victory. I started sending her pictures of the kids whenever I could. When I saw her messaging David, I would text her, "I love you and miss you." I was delighted when she told David that she couldn't come to his apartment on Wednesday. On Friday night, I asked my brother and his wife to babysit the kids. I took Audrey to a five-star restaurant where we ate and danced. That night, we were trying to break our record for the most sex in one evening. We couldn't, but it was fun to try. The next day, we picked up the kids, and we all went to the water park together. We spent the entire day having fun in the sun, playing with the kids and enjoying time together. Life was good, and I thought it would work. Audrey's text to David on Wednesday morning completely broke my heart. "Looking forward to seeing you. I missed you." My wife was a liar. Everything I believed about her was a lie. I wasn't going to listen to her excuses. I wasn't going to let her lying mouth convince me which parts of our lives were real. I wasn't going to listen to her tell me she was broken and she needed my help to fix it. As far as I was concerned, Audrey abandoned me and the children. She just hasn't given up her dating rights yet. I saw David. I turned on the camera on her phone using the monitoring program, and when she took out her phone to turn off the sound, I saw David's face for a moment. I recognized him as one of Audrey's colleagues. I met him when I visited her office one day. The first impression was that he was an idiot. Now there was no doubt about it. After I decided not to go to jail for assault, I decided the best course of action would be to remove Audrey from the lives of the children and me. She lied to the children and to me every day, the people she supposedly loved the most in her life. I would exploit every weakness in her double life. I would try to take as many assets out of the marriage as possible. As the primary parent, I would try to get primary custody of the children. I would also show the children and our relatives how Audrey chooses her lover instead of us, so that they would not be drawn into her insidious lies. And I was going to make the revenge permanent and as ugly as possible. The following week, there was a concert by Marcy's group. I mentioned this to Audrey when I realized she wasn't really paying attention, which had become common, but Marcy was. The day before Marcy's talk, I used the monitoring program on Audrey's phone to move a reminder on her calendar to the day after the event. When I got to school, I checked Audrey's phone to make sure she was at her lover's apartment, and then used monitoring software to make sure her phone was on silent. I left her a message on her phone and asked where she was. An hour later, I left her a message reminding her that she would be late. She called me in a panic towards the end of the band's concert and asked if Marcy had played yet. I asked her where she was, but she ignored it and she asked about Marcy again. I lied and told her that she just missed her and that we would see her at home. Marcy was upset on the way home because her mom wasn't there. I told her that sometimes adults are busy working to help everyone in the family and it's hard for them to leave. Marcy seemed to accept the answer along with Matt, but they were both gloomy on the way home. Audrey's lateness and appearance towards the end of family events was becoming the norm. When we got home, Audrey was waiting at the door, still in her work clothes, but for some reason she smelled like she had just taken a shower. She tried to make amends to Marcy with great love. Marcy played the pathetic victim card that children are experts at. A couple of hours later, Marcy finally hugged Audrey tightly and told her mom that she couldn't miss the next concert. I idly wondered if Audrey truly felt remorse for missing her daughter's concert, or if she was simply afraid that missing her daughter's concert might expose her cheating. Then I noticed that Audrey and her lover were meeting alone in the same small restaurant on the outskirts of town. The restaurant was best known for its Scotch eggs. Somehow I got to talking about Scotch eggs with my father-in-law, and he mentioned that he hadn't had a good Scotch egg in years. I mentioned the restaurant. I made a reservation for Wednesday, the day they went to the restaurant most often. I picked up my relatives and took them to a restaurant. Looking at my phone, I saw that Audrey was still in the office. I took the scenic route. Halfway there, Audrey's phone moved towards the restaurant. We finally arrived a couple of minutes after Audrey. As I followed my father-in-law and mother-in-law into the restaurant, I saw Audrey at a table in the back, sitting next to Jerk. I asked quite loudly, "Do you want to sit in a booth or at a table?" From the corner of my eye, I saw Audrey's head shoot up, her eyes widened, and she abruptly moved away from the table, as if she had been shot from a cannon. The idiot had a puzzled look on his face until he saw us at the door. He tried to reduce his size. As we were being seated, Audrey jumped up and came over to us. "Mom and Dad, what are you doing here?" Dad smiled, happy to see Audrey. We heard about their amazing Scotch eggs and decided to give it a try. My father-in-law leaned over to hug Audrey. "Audrey, they're really great. Why don't you join us? My colleague and I are sitting right there." She pointed to a booth in the back corner of the restaurant where Jerk was waving. His face and neck were red. The smile on the parents' faces disappeared. The father-in-law took 2 steps back towards his mother-in-law to take her hand. The mother-in-law stared at the idiot with a missing smile and said in a monotonous voice, "We wouldn't want to disturb your business lunch." Audrey was overly enthusiastic. "No problem, we're just grabbing a quick bite before we head out to show the property." Let's just say it was a busy lunch. After the Jerk shook everyone's hands, Audrey did most of the talking. My mother-in-law looked at her food with a frown the entire time. Father-in-law's smile disappeared as soon as he saw the Jerk, and he just stared at him the entire dinner without saying a word, not a single word. I asked simple questions like, "How long have you worked here?" And "How is a nice guy like you still single?" My favorite, "You know, Audrey has a sister who is also single. Audrey, you should introduce them. If everything works out, we could be related." You could easily see how tense Audrey's smile was. The idiot, after the silence had gone on for too long after my comment, said, "No thanks, I have a girlfriend." I asked, "Is it really someone we know, or is it a secret and you don't want to talk?" Jerk, "She's in a bad relationship and trying to get out of it. I don't feel comfortable telling you who it is." He said this with an obvious grin, looking only at me. I told you he was an asshole. The smirk disappeared when he realized that everyone at the table was looking at him hard, especially Audrey. The food has arrived. The father-in-law and mother-in-law, who usually eat slowly, ate their food quickly. I only ate a few bites of my Scotch egg. Audrey noticed and asked me if the Scotch egg was delicious. I said that I had lost my appetite and stared at her. Audrey's mother waved to the waiter and gave him $100 bill to pay for everyone. Everyone thanked her and she jumped up, saying she needed to go to the toilet. The waiter returned and Audrey's father took the change, stared at the Jerk like he was something smelly he'd accidentally stepped on, and went straight to the restroom without saying a word. I said to Audrey and the Jerk, "Sorry to interrupt your business lunch. I'm sure you have plans to discuss and people to deceive, that is, sell." I got up and started to leave the restaurant. Audrey chased me to my car. "Audrey, it was nice to see you at lunch. We'll discuss this at home. Your parents will be here in a second." By this time, I saw Audrey's mother and father come out of the hallway of toilets, almost running, heading straight for the front door, not even looking in the direction of the Jerk. Audrey, seeing where I was looking, lowered her gaze to the ground and said, "It's probably better this way." My parents came out, hugged Audrey briefly without saying a word, and got into my car. I walked away from Audrey without saying a word. Neither of us said anything the whole way home. When I dropped my in-laws off, I went out to say goodbye as usual. Mom hugged me tightly and told me that she loved me like the son she never had. Dad hugged me sideways and told me to bring the kids. He missed us all. This was the first time he gave me more than just a handshake. Dad had to help Mom up the steps. They looked much older than when I picked them up. It saddened me to realize that Audrey was worth lying to her parents straight to their faces. They have already disowned the other daughter of her in-laws, Karen, Audrey's younger sister. She had 2 failed marriages, both due to infidelity. Both times she lied to her parents about the reason for the divorce. Karen lied to her parents that she thought her second husband, who was actually a nice guy, was abusive and that he was cheating on her. It ended when a friend sent the in-laws a video of Karen kissing a married man in a restaurant booth similar to the one Audrey and her lover were in. Audrey's parents knew the married man's parents because they were all in diapers. Audrey's mom and the married man's mom were best friends throughout their lives. They were closer than sisters. A married man divorced, leaving behind a wife and 3 children. He ended up moving across the country. The father-in-law's friends left the church they had been members of all their lives to get away from their in-laws. The in-law's friend never spoke to them again. Although Karen lived in the same city, Karen's parents have not spoken to her since. Audrey mentioned Karen several times, but her parents immediately interrupted her and reminded her never to mention her name again. Karen once tried to sneak into her son-in-law's church during a Sunday sermon. Upon learning that Karen was present, Karen's father stood up and interrupted the pastor in the middle of his sermon, apologizing for the fact that he and his wife had to leave immediately. They both walked out the door closest to Karen without even acknowledging her existence. Everyone else acknowledged Karen's existence, glaring at her with hatred as her parents walked away. Audrey returned home that evening with a wonderful story about how a dinner meeting with her lover secured a big deal for both of them. Audrey, it is inappropriate to go to dinner alone with an unmarried man. I don't want you anywhere near him anymore, and I definitely don't want you to ever go out to dinner with him again, even with a group. Honey, I'm sorry about that. If it bothers you, I won't go to lunch with him anymore. Don't worry about him. We made a great deal. I told Audrey that I would sleep in the guest room until she properly apologized to me and her parents. I said, "Your parents were upset. Remember when your sister got caught cheating?" Audrey was clearly alarmed when I reminded her of her sister, but she told me I was making a mountain out of a mountain. On the plus side, I now had an excuse not to have sex with her. Then, I installed a switch in my wife's car and in her lover's car. I installed it in the asshole's car while he was having sex with my wife in his apartment. While I was at it, I also failed the transmission sensor. This will cause the check engine light to come on and keep mechanics guessing. We had a parents' divide and conquer day. Matt had to go to a football game and Marcy had to go to a band competition. And as it happened, Audrey decided to spend time with her lover that afternoon. That's what I heard live on her phone while I was watching Matt's football game. I turned off Audrey's machine. Knock, knock, knock. "What happened, dear? Came back so quickly." "My car won't start." "Let's watch." "In 15 minutes. "I don't know what's wrong. The battery is charged. The headlights work. It just won't start. Do you want me to give you a ride home?" "No, you idiot. After the debacle at the restaurant, if my husband sees you dropping me off at the house, it will be a big problem. Call for a tow truck. I have to pick up Mary and take her to the banjo competition across town." "Why not let her husband drive her?" "He's with Matt at his football game. We already planned for me to take Marcy." "You can take my car." Again, debacle in a restaurant. "Oh, yes. Okay, take me to the rental car, and I'll call a tow truck to come pick up my car. Make sure you meet the tow truck driver when he arrives and pay him $50 to provide the address of our business where the car was found." Audrey's phone rang. "Damn. Hello, dear." "Me. Have you picked up Marcy yet?" "I'm having problems with my car. I think it's the battery." "Do you want me to come to your office and help you start your car?" "No, I mean, it's okay. I already called a tow truck, and I'm going to rent a car nearby so Marcy won't be late." "Okay, call if you need help." I hung up. "Come on now, you're taking me to the Avis rental place near our work." "But budget is just a stone's throw away." "Damn, I can't have a rental car bill from a place that has nothing to do with my job and is right next to your apartment." "Oh yes, Justice." However, Audrey was late to pick up Marcy. Luckily, Marcy called me in a panic, so I asked one of the other dads I was friends with to take Matt home afterward. After he agreed, I was able to pick Marcy up for the competition with just a little time. When Marcy and I got home, Matt was already in his room and Audrey was waiting to apologize to Marcy. Again, still in work clothes, but smelling like she just took a shower. Marcy, I'm so sorry. I had car trouble and couldn't pick you up. I rented a car, but by then Daddy had already picked you up. It's okay, Mom. I just made it to the competition thanks to Dad. This is the second time you've missed my performances. I hope the work is worth it. Marcy went to her room. Audrey, turning to me, it's not my fault. I had problems with the car. I called your work after lunch, and they told me you had already left. You had over 2 hours to pick up Marcy. What happened? Audrey froze and stopped breathing for 3 full seconds. Then she came to her senses and said, I was doing some things and thought I had enough time to do them. I didn't know my car would break down. I looked into Audrey's eyes for a few seconds, watching her become slightly nervous. When she realized what she was doing, she froze and stared back at me. What business have you been doing? You never mentioned it to me. I looked at her intently. Nothing. Just some things. Some things that needed to be done. I said, well, I hope that little thing you had to do was more important than your daughter's love, because you're on very thin ice after that stunt. Then I went up to the bedroom, to the guest room, where I slept alone. Well, at least I was able to answer the question I asked myself in passing. Audrey didn't care about missing our kids' activities. The jerk was all she cared about. All she cared about was not getting caught. If she really cared, she would have canceled her appointment for that day. Instead, she used the kids' event as an excuse to leave work early so she could spend more time with Jerkass. Next time, it will be very painful. The mechanics couldn't find any problems with Audrey's car. Marcy was pushing Audrey's buttons when she found out about the car. Mom, you said you were taking me and my friends to the mall this Saturday. Can you tell me now if you don't want to drive us? We don't want to be stuck at the mall until you won't have problems with your car again. Matt heard this from the other room and laughed loudly, shouting, Nice joke, Marcy. The children seemed to feel unappreciated by their mother. Audrey actually dared to complain to me after this and asked me to talk to the children about how they should talk to their mother. I'll think about it, Audrey, while I wait for your apology in the guest room. She didn't like the irony. She just got upset and blamed my isolation in the guest room on my stubbornness. On Saturday, I ended up taking Marcy and her friends to the mall. Audrey said she has work to do. Audrey didn't go to the jerk's apartment or the hotel, but her car spent a couple of hours at the house. I checked and the house was for sale, but who was there with her? When we got home, Marcy thanked me loudly in front of her mother. Marcy emphasized how much she appreciated me taking the time to drive her and her friends around. Marcy then called her friend and ignored Audrey's questions. Audrey looked like she wanted to complain to me, but I started giggling, took my drink, and locked myself in my office. Audrey was still in her work clothes, but she smelled like she had just taken a shower. She had sex in someone's house that she was selling. I hope she at least changed the sheets after this, although I doubt it. Matt's birthday was approaching. We decided to rent 6 lanes at a bowling alley and spend time bowling with his friends and family. It took me a while to find a bowling alley that didn't have league on a Wednesday night. What happiness! When I told Audrey about this, she visibly gulped. Looks like Wednesdays weren't her best day. I told Audrey that I would take both children and a few of their friends. I needed her to pick up the cake and candles from the grocery store. We'd blow out the candles and eat pizza while Matt opened presents. Then we would all go bowling for a couple of hours. The week before Matt's birthday, I had to stop the jerk's car 3 times to keep them from meeting. This week, they decided to meet on Tuesday for lunch, so I had to break his car for good. The idiot had to take her to the workshop. They never found anything wrong, and he got his car back that evening. I hoped that their pent-up frustration would make Wednesday's meeting possible. I was relieved when I saw Audrey's text on Wednesday morning. Looking forward to seeing you. A little later in the afternoon, her phone's GPS showed her heading towards Jerk's apartment. She had enough time to have fun, grab the cake, and come to the party. It also gave me enough time to pick up Audrey's gift, have fun, pick up the kids, and get to the party. I went and picked up the car I had rented for this special occasion. I needed a car with a big trunk in case Audrey's gift was opened in the car. After making sure Audrey's phone was in the jerk's apartment, I took my bag and Audrey's gift to the jerk's front door. Carefully placing the cage, covered with black cloth, at the front door, I lifted the cage door up, revealing the cage. The front of the cage was now closed only by the jerk's door. Then I took my newly purchased door ram, made 3 test swings, and then slammed it into the door with a strong blow. I took a stun gun out of my pocket and briefly activated it on the metal cage. A very angry skunk jumped into the room. I quickly reached my hand inside and slammed the door shut as the skunk began to rise up to attack me. I quickly went to my rental car. After I left, I connected to the microphone on Audrey's phone. There were shouts and screams. I heard the jerk telling my wife to call the police, so I blocked her phone. She must have thought she had entered the code incorrectly too many times in her panic. It was clear from the sounds that the jerk had to open his bedroom door to get the phone from the living room. The idiot finally got through to the police and said that there was a wild animal in his apartment and he needed help. The police arrived about 15 minutes later. Seeing signs of a break-in, the police entered with guns drawn. The skunk attacked first. I heard both police officers screaming and vomiting before they closed the apartment door. It took several hours for animal control to arrive to calm and capture the skunk. After animal control left, 2 smelly police officers sat across from 2 smelly people, Audrey and Jerkass. 2 more police officers arrived to help, but when they smelled the smell in the apartment, they quickly left. Policeman: who's the owner of this place? Asshole: I am. Who are you? Here's my driver's license. Policeman, looking at Audrey: do you live here? Audrey: no, I'm just visiting. Do you have any documents? Is this really necessary? Listen, lady, I just got attacked by a skunk. Don't play with me. I'm not in the mood. This is my identification. So how do you know him? We work together. What were you doing here? We came to pick up some documents. After some radio communication to confirm Audrey and the jerk's identity, the cop asked, so what was the skunk doing in the apartment? The idiot started to answer, but Audrey interrupted him. It was a birthday present from me. Did you buy an adult skunk as a birthday present for your boyfriend? He's not my boyfriend. Stop lying, lady. Boyfriend, girlfriend, co-worker, whatever. Why did you buy an adult skunk as a birthday present for your boyfriend? Well, I didn't, but I did. I bought a skunk, but he was supposed to be young. He told me he loved skunks and had always wanted one, so I surprised him. He wasn't supposed to be an adult. They brought him to the door, and when he opened the bag, the beast jumped out and attacked him. The policeman, clearly not believing this nonsense, but not wanting to sit and smell the smell, said, the skunk must have been expensive. Well, a little, but not too much. Audrey tried to reduce it. Are you buying expensive pets for all your co-workers without your husband's knowledge, or just for your boyfriend? Audrey didn't answer. Boyfriend, that is. What about the door? Asshole. I accidentally broke it yesterday and didn't have time to fix it. I can only imagine that the officer must have stared at them both for a full minute of silence and then said, okay, I know this is all a lie, but I'm fed up with this smell and I'm getting out of here. The only reason you and your boyfriend leave, it's because you smell worse than me or my partner, and I'm not about to contaminate the back seat of my car with that smell. With these words, I heard them leave, and the door slammed shut. Being broken, it closed loudly. Asshole. What the hell was that? Audrey, always the smart girl, we couldn't tell them that someone broke down your door and threw a skunk into your apartment. Why not? Because then they would have asked my husband what happened. If he did it, he already knows. If he didn't, then they would have to tell him that I was here. Audrey sweetly says, be honest, How many other women do you entertain? No one, with indignation. When was the last time you slept with another woman other than me? About a month ago, with resignation. Audrey louder. Are you serious? How long? About 8 months. Audrey even louder. You've been sleeping with her this whole time. There was another one about 6 months ago, he muttered. Did their husbands find out? What makes you think they were married? Because I know what turns you on. Now answer the question. Yes, both. Did they know it was you? Not sure. Great. Now I'm sure I made the right choice by lying to the police. This is most likely revenge from one of the husbands of your other conquests. One way or another, I'm going to find out if my husband is to blame. Audrey's phone rings. Me. Hey, Audrey, have you taken the cake yet? Damn, I'm stuck at work. I'm leaving now. Audrey, don't let Matt down either. I'm leaving now, don't worry. Audrey hung up. From Audrey's microphone. Audrey, damn, it's Matt's birthday. I need to get some cake. Then I heard Audrey shower, get dressed, and leave the jerk's apartment. When the GPS showed that Audrey was about halfway to the grocery store, I stopped her car. After the fourth attempt to start it, I let it start. It broke down 3 more times on the way to the store. Fortunately, it started every time after stopping. She was very late to Matt's party. When Audrey arrived at the store, I heard her apologize to the candy store staff that she had hit a skunk. They quickly helped her leave. Audrey arrived at the bowling alley at the end of the evening. When Audrey walked up carrying the cake, we all covered our noses and started coughing. After a very short discussion, Matt asked his mom to just come home. After the party, on the way home, Matt asked me why Mom always missed his and Marcy's events. I told him that she does what she thinks is best for the family, and sometimes it's hard to be in 2 places at once. Matt, but you're always there for Marcy and me, and you make a lot more money? Well, I have a more flexible schedule, so it's easier for me to be with my 2 favorite skunks in the whole world. Marcy, it's not funny, Dad. It'll be funny when you tell your friends about this at school tomorrow. Even the birthday cake was so smelly we had to throw it away. Smelly birthday cake. They both thought it was very funny. I was very glad that I slept in the guest room that night. A few days later, I saw Audrey looking into my car and smelling all the upholstery. It was funny watching my wife. She looked like a mouse trying to sniff out cheese. When she returned to the house, I quietly followed her upstairs to the master bedroom. I watched her from around the corner using the video on my phone. I got a good shot of her getting down on all fours and sniffing all over my shoes. I never asked her why the outside of her car didn't smell like a skunk. 2 Saturdays later, I told everyone I needed to go to the hardware store. After asking everyone if they wanted to go with me and receiving negative grumblings in response, I went alone. I headed straight to the jerk's apartment. His car was there, which was a good sign. I knocked on his door. He opened it and asked, "How can I help?" "Actually, I think we can help each other. I'm Audrey's husband. Can I come in?" After his face paled, I pushed past him and sat down at the kitchen table. I invited him to sit at the table with me. I could smell fresh paint and a bit of a skunk smell. All the furniture and carpets looked new. I know you've been entertaining my wife Audrey for over 6 months now. Hey man, I don't know what anyone told you, but it's all a lie. We're just friends. Would it be something if I showed you some photos and video footage of your normal average get-togethers to jog your memory? I do not know what you're talking about. Come on, no bullshit. I know you're sleeping with my wife, and I have proof. I don't care about you. I care about what my wife does. So here's a suggestion. Instead of hiring a private detective to get dirt on my wife having sex with you, I offer to pay you money for it. Do you want me to make a video of me having sex with your wife? It will cost you $2,000. The idiot stared at me for a minute, letting his weak brain absorb what I was offering. He looked at all the new furniture he had just paid for. $2,000 for a video of me having sex with your wife? Are you serious? Yes, I'm serious. 2,000 for a video showing her face and body and the act of penetration. I will also need a written consent from you that you took this video and allowed me to use it. If you already have so much evidence, why do you need a video? I need more leverage to get a divorce. Dude, that would be really cruel of me. Oh, you mean how she betrays me and her children? After a short pause, he whispered, yes, like that. 2,000, and I won't tell the other two husbands who entertained their wives recently. To sweeten the deal, I'll even pay for a spa day for two in another city. You can entertain her all day at a hotel spa resort on Saturday. The idiot looked at me silently and carefully. Dude, you're really cruel. Make 3,000 and we have a deal. Great, don't mention this to Audrey, of course. I will arrange and pay for the spa and hotel in your name. It will be for next Saturday. The Monday evening after that, I will call you to set up an appointment to receive the video. I will pay you in cash. All clear? Yes. Okay. Make sure her face is clearly visible in the footage. I'll send you the consent form later today. You'll get a call from me the Monday after. I then left his apartment and continued my shopping at the building materials store. Wednesday evening. Audrey, honey, I forgot to tell you that I have a conference this Saturday in a couple of cities from here. Will that be a problem? No, it looks like it's going to be a relaxing weekend. Have fun at your conference. On Monday night, I called the jerk and told him I would pick him up at his apartment. He asked why, and I mentioned that I didn't want to be in any videos. I took him away and told him not to say a word. I drove it down the highway to a rarely used rest stop. I made him come out and checked him with a metal detector. Once he was clean, I let him back into the car. Do you have what I need? Yes, here it is, and he handed me the flash drive. I took my laptop out of the back seat and inserted the flash drive. I said to the jerk, "Great, this is exactly what I was looking for. Do you have a consent form?" The idiot took an envelope out of his pocket and handed it to me. I opened the envelope and checked that the date and signature were correct. I took a photo of it and sent it to myself. I took an envelope from the side compartment of the door and handed it to the jerk. He counted all the $100 bills twice, smiling from ear to ear. When I dropped him off at his house, he said, "If you need another video, let me know." It was the easiest money I ever made. On Tuesday, the first thing I did was tell my brother and his wife what was going on. I showed them a short video as well as some photos from other videos. I also showed them a list of Audrey's dates with the jerk, highlighting in yellow the family events she missed by being with the jerk instead. I then showed the same thing to Audrey's parents. I edited the photos heavily. I didn't want Audrey's parents to be shocked by the image I showed them, but I also didn't want Audrey to get away with lying to her parents. I showed the same to my parents. I also asked everyone to ignore Audrey until I said it was okay to start communicating. On Wednesday, while their mother was with Jerk, I sat down with the kids and explained to them what was going on. Mom is infatuated with another man, and I'm not sure if she still loves me. After the shock, they asked if we would get a divorce. I told them that we would discuss this with their mother when she returned home from her boyfriend's house today. They both shouted together, "Is she there now?" I said yes and showed them the GPS tracker in their mother's car outside her boyfriend's apartment. Marcy stated the obvious. "Is this why Mom always misses time with me and Matt?" I showed them their mom's dated list of appointments, with missed family events highlighted. I wanted them to know exactly how unimportant they were to their mother. I also showed them a time-lapse tracker showing Audrey's whereabouts on the day of Marcy's missed concert and Matt's missed birthday. The tears started when they saw what time Audrey left the office on Matt's birthday. They openly cried when they saw what time their mother left her lover's apartment in order to be in time for Matt's birthday. Damn, that skunk. I told them that the most important thing was that I loved them, that it was a problem between their mother and me, and we were going to do everything we could to remain a family. After half an hour of crying, hugging, and talking, we heard the front door open and Audrey walked into the house. Seeing everyone's expressions, she looked worried and asked, "What happened?" "Children, why don't you go to your rooms while Mom and I talk?" They both stood up and hugged me tightly, then gave their mother a very hostile look and went to their rooms. As soon as I heard the doors close, I asked Audrey to sit down. "What's happening?" "Audrey, I know you're having an affair." "Oh God, no, that's not true. I would never cheat on you. Why would you even say that?" I saw Audrey's eyes begin to fill with tears. "Audrey, if you're not going to tell me the truth, then this conversation is over. This must be some kind of mistake. Someone thought they saw something that wasn't true." "Okay, Audrey, we're done for today. Please spend the rest of the day thinking about what you are doing to this family. We'll discuss this again tomorrow. In the meantime, don't talk to me or the kids until we figure this out. We have to work this out between us." Then I got up from the table and went to my room, the guest room. Audrey followed me the whole way and told me I was wrong. When I closed the door in her face, she fell silent. Then I heard her trying to talk quietly through Marcy's door. "Marcy, what did Daddy tell you? It's all a mistake. Please open the door so we can talk." Marcy said nothing, but wrote to me and Matt. "Can you make her go away?" "I'll try, but she just told me I was wrong about her affair, so there's no point in having an honest conversation if she's going to lie." "Perhaps you are making a mistake. I have pictures of them naked in bed together." Oh, I opened the door and Audrey looked at me. "Please leave the children alone until we resolve this between us. You're making it harder for them than it needs to be." "But I want to know what you told them." "I told them the truth, that you have another man. Besides, this is between us until we sort it out. Now, please leave the kids alone." Audrey sadly went to her bedroom. I heard her cry all night. The next day, Thursday, I was sitting at the kitchen table waiting for Audrey when she came home. The children were with friends. They didn't want to be around it. "Audrey, please sit down." Audrey sat down. "Have you thought about what you're doing with your family?" She nodded yes. "Are you ready to talk honestly with me about your affair?" She nodded again. "So what do you tell me?" "It's all a misunderstanding. Yes, I had a connection, but it was only an emotional connection. I had lunch with him several times, although you asked me not to go to lunch with him. But we worked together, and this is inevitable. I shared with him some of my feelings, but that's all. Believe me, dear, I love only you. If you think the best way to get out of this situation is to lie, then the conversation is over. I will talk to you on Saturday morning at 9:00. The children will be spending the night with my parents today and tomorrow. We will talk again on Saturday morning. Once again, please think about what you are doing to this family." I got up and went to my room. Audrey didn't say anything or follow me. I got up early Saturday morning and had breakfast with the kids at Audrey's parents' house. When I returned home, I parked my car in front of the house. When I entered the house, Audrey was sitting at the kitchen table. I said, "Are you ready to talk honestly with me about your affair?" Audrey nodded. "Did you tell my parents about this?" "Yes." "Have you told your parents, your brother, and his wife about this?" "Yes." "How could you do this to me?" "Because I'm always proud of all your hard work. Look how much work you put into your relationship. All the lies to me, the children, and our parents. The lies you told, looking straight into your eyes. I just had to lift that thin veil of trust behind which you are hiding. But that's not true at all. I kissed him a couple of times, that's all. And now you've turned our parents and children against me. Since you still refuse to be honest with me, this conversation is over. The children will stay with their grandparents indefinitely. I will live in the guest room and work from our home office as usual. We will discuss this on Tuesday after you return from work. Once again, please think about what you are doing to this family." I got up, left the house, and drove away. That night, when I returned home from dinner with my parents and children, Audrey was sitting in the living room. "Audrey, we can talk." "Tuesday," I said and went to bed. I received several text messages from two of Audrey's friends asking me to forgive her. It was just an innocent mistake. I made a video call with them. I told them how many months Audrey had been having sex with another man. Then I showed them the evidence. They both quickly apologized and quickly hung up. I never heard anything more from them. I don't think Audrey either. On Tuesday evening, Audrey came home, and I left my home office to meet her at the kitchen table. She brought home pasta from our favorite Italian restaurant and prepared a plate for me on the table. Audrey looked exhausted and had bags under her eyes. The days when you wonder what lies to tell your friends and family so they don't find out what a terrible person you are takes their toll. With the voice of the victim, nobody talks to me. Lies have consequences. They think I'm a monster. In fact, Audrey, you showed everyone that there is a monster inside of you. They said you showed them a photo and video of me and my lover. Yes, I showed you. No one will show me this photo. Can I see her? My friend said you showed it to her via FaceTime. I love it when a plan comes true. Yes, if it helps this conversation. Just so you know, I didn't let other copies get out. I don't plan for our family to be ridiculed because of your behavior. I showed her the photo and video. I love you so much. Can't we let this mistake be forgotten? How strong was your love for me that you had to be with someone else? I never loved him. Marriage is quite simple. Shared responsibilities, shared trust, and shared fun. I was 100% responsible, 100% trusted, and had 100% fun with you. But you left most of the financial responsibilities, most of the family responsibilities, all the burdens of trust on me while you partied around town. I stared at her for a minute. You stole my love by giving your love to someone else. How long have you known? 7 months. She spoke very quietly. 7 months? Why did you wait so long? At first I was hoping it was a one-time mistake, and you would be honest with me and admit your mistake. Because, as you always say, you love me. I'm sorry. How can I trust what you say now? Because I love you and I'm telling you the truth. Is this the same truth you told me during our last 3 meetings, where you denied that you had ever had an affair? After I sat in silence for a couple of minutes, I looked at Audrey and Audrey looked at her food. Audrey, what can I do to make things better? I took the envelope from my home office and placed it on the desk in front of Audrey. This is an agreement after marriage. Sign it and I'll think about taking you back. Obviously, you, me, and the kids will have to go to therapy to make this work. I don't want to sign a prenuptial agreement. Okay, then we're done. My understanding is that you only want to get back together so you can come out of this marriage better off financially. What will I get if I sign the deed of agreement? If one of us decides to get a divorce, I will get 70% of everything. If I get caught cheating, the ratio will go back to 5,050. If you get caught cheating, I get 85%. In all scenarios, I receive full custody of the children. Have a lawyer look at it and sign it. I will only consider staying in this marriage if I am confident that you are willing to sacrifice something financially. How much time do I have to decide? Until Saturday morning. As I stood up to leave, Audrey said, "Aren't you going to eat? I ordered your favorite food." After everything you've done and all the lies you've told me, should I expect the arsenic sauce to be particularly fresh? She started crying a lot. Signed the marriage contract afterwards to regain my trust at least a little. The next day I went to Audrey's office while she was out. I had a meeting with the office manager. It was an elderly lady who had worked there for many years. Her husband was the owner, although he no longer came to the office. From the looks of everyone in the office, Audrey was spreading her lies. "How can I help you today?" She definitely looked at me with an angry look. I think there's a misunderstanding that I'm the bad guy when it comes to my wife. Anyway, this seems to be a personal matter that has nothing to do with anything related to this office. Now, if that's all, I have a busy schedule and I ask you to leave the premises. If you refuse, I will have to call the police. It's really about this office because it's about my relationship with my wife and a certain person who works here that she has sex with. She definitely didn't like me cursing in front of her. Do you have any evidence to support these accusations? Of course, here's a photo of my wife with her coworker. I also have dozens of voice recordings of them admitting that they were supposed to show clients' objects, but ended up having sex instead. I played short clips from the two most incriminating recordings. She was very unhappy. Can I assume that my wife will be fired immediately? Yes, along with her lover. Unfortunately, you cannot fire her lover. I had permission to record my wife's conversations, but not his. Since none of this can be shown in court, it was a lie. I do not want to be accused of libel, and I don't think you want either. Thanks for the info. She seemed noticeably relieved, almost even smiled. Can I leave a photo? No, I don't want this photo to be passed around out of curiosity to the detriment of my family. Audrey came home that evening in tears. She lost her job and received no references. She wanted to talk, but I only answered, Saturday, before going to my room and locking the door. On Saturday morning, Audrey was sitting at the kitchen table. Should you have fired me? When you found out that I knew about your affair, you should have quit immediately to avoid contact with your lover. I simply made the right decision for you since your moral compass is clearly broken. We could discuss this first. Sorry, I thought we had already established that we no longer discuss decisions in advance that could negatively impact our marriage or children. By the way, have you signed a postnuptial agreement? Yes, handing me the envelope. I examined it and made sure it was signed and dated. I sent an electronic copy to my lawyer and put the physical copy in a safe. Then I announced the new house rules. Good behavior on her part, and we'll all start getting counseling. I will also let everyone in the family know that we are trying to fix our marriage. I knew it wouldn't last. I didn't even schedule a consultation. For the next 30 days, my wife was the perfect housewife, loving and caring. She was even kind enough to install a small camera in my office so she could see what I was typing and what was on my screen. I caught her setting up a hidden camera in my office, which I only watched on my laptop in my car away from home. Saturday morning, I came down to the kitchen and Audrey was sitting at the table, drinking coffee, looking like the cat that ate the canary. We exchanged pleasantries. I took the coffee and sat down opposite her. Where are the children? I took them to my parents. Why? We haven't had sex in a month, and I was hoping I could make you change your mind this morning. 8 months, actually. 8 months, what? What do you mean 8 months? That's how long it's been since we had sex. It can't be that long, you're wrong. I understand how it might be hard for you to keep track of this considering how much you've cheated, but believe me, I'm the one who hasn't gotten it in 8 months. I'm not wrong. Audrey, well, we could change that. Audrey smiled and started to get up, but I waved for her to stay seated. Audrey, I still haven't forgotten what you did and what you said, and I definitely haven't been able to erase those images from my mind. It won't happen. Okay, then be stubborn. I tried to be nice. I did everything you asked, and you and the kids still treat me like a leper. I want you to start treating me with more respect. Starting from now, is this really how you want to handle this, Audrey? Yes, I don't like being blackmailed for this role at all with your dirty videos, and I have already done something about it. I deleted all your copies. You were wrong when you admitted that you have control over your copies. I even deleted your copies in the cloud storage and destroyed your little flash drive. I was watching you. You're so predictable. I'm tired of being an outcast in my own home, and I'll stay with my sister until you come to your senses and start treating me with more respect. You no longer have pictures to keep me in line. I found another job and will take care of myself. I will pick up the kids from school every day, and we will have dinner at my new place without you until you start to treat me better. Audrey stood up and walked towards the front door. To her surprise, her sister came out of the dining room, and they both left the house. For 2 months, Audrey worked on her parents and children. She claimed that I never had any records. She said the heavily edited photo was because I had photoshopped the heads of Audrey and her lover into the picture. She told the children and her parents that if I really had proof, then I should show it. Of course, Audrey deleted everything. The children didn't know who to believe. Audrey's parents wanted to believe Audrey. I even saw some doubts in my parents' eyes. It wasn't that they didn't trust me, but they were afraid that I was losing the children's trust. My brother and his wife were on my side 100%. Now I felt like an exile. I met with her lover to schedule another video session. This time I did my best. I got a hotel room on the beach in Florida. I bought 2 first-class tickets for Audrey and the idiot, and he offered him $5,000 for the video. I also told him that it should be recorded on the balcony of the hotel room. The idiot asked me to pay for an expensive restaurant to feed and treat her. I realized that he was extorting more money from me. I eavesdropped during dinner. They invited Karen. Audrey and Karen were very excited. I had to buy another first-class ticket for Karen. 2 weeks later, I was sitting in the car with the jerk, watching the latest video on my laptop. Everything was exactly as I asked. For the next 2 hours, Audrey was completely blocked. When I finished watching the video, I said to Jerk, "Great job." I encrypted the video and uploaded it to the cloud. I also encrypted the copies on the flash drive before putting it in my pocket. I closed my laptop and put it in my briefcase in the back seat. Then I pulled out of the roadside parking lot. The idiot asked for his money, but I told him I had some questions. "Did you approach my wife first?" "Not really, it just kind of happened. You know, working together and everything." "Who was the first to talk about sex?" "Actually, she is." By this time, I had turned onto the 2-lane road, and we were heading back into town. "I wonder how many women you've seduced in town." "Well, I've only been in town a couple of years, but I've been with 7 women." "Really? Who are they?" "I can't tell you, it wouldn't be fair." "I'll give you another 1,000. Make 2, and we'll have a deal. If you tell me where and approximately when, we'll have a deal." He listed all 7. Office manager, 2 more women from the office, and 4 women from a couple of gyms where he worked out. Everyone was married. I turned off the recorder in my pocket. I told him, "Wow, this is crazy. Do you want to see something even crazier?" I pressed the gas pedal hard. The car suddenly accelerated to 70 miles per hour. The idiot said, "Hey man, what are you doing? I don't need to see anything crazy." I replied, "Sorry, that wasn't the craziest part. Here it is." I directed the car into the trees along the road and braked sharply. We were lucky and hit a tree at less than 40 mph. Both of our seat belts were fastened and the airbags deployed, which saved us. But it still hurts a lot. I came to my senses first. The passenger next to me showed no signs of life. I called the police to report the accident. Police later concluded it was an accident. As expected, they confiscated my laptop and flash drive as evidence. After being examined at the hospital, I went home. I was sick for a week. Audrey found out about my accident. When she learned of Jerk's death the following week, she put 2 and 2 together. She called me trying to find out about his death. I pretended that I didn't know anything. Not so coincidentally, the next day the police came and asked me several questions about the connection between the deceased and my wife. I admitted that I knew about it, and that was the reason we were in the car together. I gave him money so he would never see my wife again, but the asshole broke his promise and asked for more money. That's when the accident happened. The police were playing with me, trying to put pressure on me, so I finally said, "Are you suggesting that I deliberately drove the car at high speed into a tree in the hope that he would be the only one to die?" After that, they left almost immediately. Yes, I had the opportunity and the motive, but I knew about their connection for a long time, and my fingerprints were not on the pencil. And who risks their life by crashing their car into a tree at high speed to kill someone else? How would you prove this in court? A few days later, Audrey called me and said that she wanted to meet with me to discuss our marriage. But after the death of the jerk, she wanted to do it on neutral territory. She also wanted her sister to accompany her because she felt unsafe being alone with me now. I asked her what she meant. She said that the house was out of question. She did not want this conversation to be recorded. She said we could meet at a random hotel she would choose. I told her that it was fine, but I would choose the number. She tried to argue that she was in danger and had to choose one or the other, but I told her that I also did not want this conversation to be recorded on her part. This way, neither party will know the final number until we are all logged in. I began to wonder what Audrey's real purpose was. She could just meet me at home like before. She definitely didn't want me to write down what was going to happen. We met the following Saturday afternoon. I followed Audrey and Karen in Audrey's car to a nice hotel across town. When we arrived and checked in, the hotel receptionist offered us room 216. I told the receptionist that I wanted a higher room overlooking the front of the hotel. I made the receptionist give several numbers and then chose one. Audrey and Karen were clearly disappointed. They'll probably have to pay again to get their recorders out of room 216. They'll have to forget about the bribe they paid the clerk. In the elevator, Karen stood next to me, put her arm around my waist, then pressed her breasts against my side and said, "No matter how this ends, I hope we can remain friends." I told her that this discussion should be between me and my wife, and that I preferred that she not interfere. I was probably the only guy or girl that Karen openly flirted with over the years that she didn't sleep with. Audrey usually didn't trust her sister around me and openly told Karen to stay away from me. Apparently something has changed. I didn't complain. The hotel room was standard. There was an office desk and chair in the corner, a chest of drawers along the long wall, and a queen-size bed in the other corner. Audrey asked, "What now?" I smiled and said, "Take off your clothes, completely naked. I don't trust you, and you don't trust me." Audrey looked at Karen. "That's my sister. I don't want you to see her naked." "Come on. She doesn't have anything that almost every person in this town hasn't already seen." Karen stuck her tongue out at me. She had a piercing in the middle of her tongue. Okay, Audrey gave in too easily. Get completely naked worked. Now I know another one of her goals. Luckily, I came prepared. Audrey and Karen began to undress. I quickly undressed and neatly folded my clothes on the work table. With my back to Audrey and Karen and between them and my clothes, I pulled a pen from my pants pocket and placed it behind my clothes on the table. It matched the other hotel pen lying on the table exactly, including the name of the hotel. When Audrey suggested the hotel plan, I spent the next day visiting every hotel and motel to get a free pen at every front desk. When we arrived at this hotel, I took out a pen from my collection and placed the camera in it. I hollowed out each handle a little to fit the camera. They didn't look any different, but the camera grip was much heavier than a cheap plastic grip should have been. I took my clothes, went to the bathroom, and put them there. I didn't lose sight of the two women undressing or the hand. Taking a towel, I then walked back naked to the table and sat down on the chair. Audrey and Karen were sitting on the bed, their clothes lying next to them. Okay, now that we got that out of the way, let's start with the small stuff. I tried not to look at Karen's attractive body. "Audrey, don't be like that. I was hoping we could have a serious conversation." In a few minutes, we will know who correctly assessed what this conversation will be about. Audrey, in her sweetest voice, "I love you, darling." "Yes, like your favorite pair of shoes." "You know that's not true. I really love you." "Yes, as long as your credit card works." Audrey's voice rose in pitch. "Don't be so sullen. Our marriage is strong enough to handle this." "Strong? You used all of our strength to repeatedly stab me in the back with a knife, and you want me to give you the knife back and turn my back on you again. Don't be so melodramatic. It was a mistake." "Yes, a mistake that will end in divorce." "Darling, don't be like that. It was just a little mistake." "It wasn't a small mistake. It was an evil, evil plan to put the puppies in a bag with a rock and throw them into the river to drown. With my best falsetto, "Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't know it would kill them when I threw it in the river. Honey, I'm sorry I lied to you, but it was only because I was ashamed of what I did. I stopped lying when you confronted me with the facts, and I realized what a huge mistake I had made." "Oh, you mean the first time I told you I knew and you said, there must be some mistake. Someone saw something that wasn't true lies? Or the second time when you said, it's all a misunderstanding? Yes, I had a connection, but it was only an emotional connection. Or the third time you said, I only kissed him a couple of times. The time you told your two friends, and they called me to convince me to take you back because it was a one-time mistake. I think you decided to be honest when I showed you the photo. I think you decided to stop lying about your affair when you realized it wouldn't work anymore. But that won't stop you from lying about other things, will it?" Karen, noticing her sister's subdued reaction to my words, said, "We don't want anyone to go overboard and say something they'll regret later." Looking at Karen in surprise, I said, "Going too far? Are you kidding me? I think you're underestimating the situation. I'm always surprised how much cheaters try to minimize the infidelity of others. How many boyfriends and husbands have you deceived, Karen? How many married men have you seduced?" Audrey, in a quiet voice, "But I'm so sorry for what I did to you." "Oh, you do feel guilty, so all should be forgiven. Unfortunately, I think you don't feel guilty enough. My job is to help you with this shortcoming." Audrey, in the voice of a pitiful child, "It's not that bad. Tell me, dear, what's the difference between what you are now and a conman? Do you know what a con artist is? Someone who gains the trust of someone and then uses that trust to deceive them." Back to my normal voice. Audrey replied, "I didn't deceive you. Marriage is a contract of fidelity and trust. You cheated on me and lied to me. How is this not cheating? I kept my end of the deal." With a little more force in her voice, she said, "It was only sex. That's why you kept it from me all this time. It was just sex, and you knew I might get a little upset about it. Like that time you forgot to buy me orange juice at the store." Louder and with an accusing tone, she said, "Forcing me to sign this postnuptial agreement was unfair." "Unfair? If I get a traffic ticket, I pay the fine. If I don't pay my taxes, they confiscate my money. If I drink too much and hang out on the street, they take me to jail for the night. Cheaters cheat, so what? Nothing. If life were fair, marriage licenses would be contracts where cheaters would immediately lose 75% of assets in a divorce and the basic right to raise children. And unmarried cheaters, like the jerk, would get maximum sentences given that they are just parasites in society, feeding on other people's happiness." I said loudly, "Marriage is about raising a family and being faithful to one person. Otherwise, what's the point of getting married?" Audrey looked at me, unable to answer. "Audrey, do you know how many marriages that started with infidelity last more than a few years? 5%. That's also the percentage of open marriages. Was it your plan, Audrey, to divorce me, marry your lover, and have an open marriage? We'll probably never know, right? He's dead." Audrey's face distorted, and an evil glint appeared in her eyes. "Okay, screw you. I've removed all your evidence, so you no longer have anything to keep me in line. We both suffered, and now my parents and our children don't know who to believe. Was it worth it? Was it worth destroying your marriage?" Loudly, pointing a finger either at himself or at Audrey, "I didn't destroy this marriage. You destroyed this marriage. I'm just stating the time of death." My answer definitely shocked Audrey. She still thought that the problems in our marriage were my fault for catching her and being so unreasonable. Audrey very angrily, "Well, maybe I wouldn't have slept with someone else if you paid more attention to me." "Why should I? You didn't pay any attention to me." This answer seemed to knock the wind out of Audrey. We both sat for a minute, looking at each other in silence. We both seemed to calm down a little. "Did you kill him?" With my hand to the camera in the pen, I smiled widely and replied, "It was an accident." "How could you do such a thing?" Audrey tried to get me to express an emotional apology for the death of the jerk or a moral justification for my actions. But I didn't. Any one of them could be considered an admission of guilt. That's why I was silent. Audrey's eyes began to fill with tears. He was a good guy. Allowing my anger to seep into my voice, I said, "Oh, you mean those nice guys who seduce other people's wives?" Audrey in tears, "But you still love me, I know that." Correction, I loved you. True love is a privilege that most people never experience, even if they are married. You had that from me for a moment in your life. All I got in return was your wedding wish, your desire for a husband, your desire for my money, your desire for my fidelity. You threw away love for something as vulgar as passion because you never knew what real love is. Millions of men will desire you for the sake of passion, but no one will. I truly love you the way I loved you after you did this to your family and to me. Tears streamed down Audrey's face. This definitely didn't go the way Audrey had planned. But I have to admit that Audrey quickly recovered and went back to her plan. The look in her eyes changed. Her mind was spinning. The main plans have failed. It's time to move on to the next attack. Audrey straightened up, wiped her eyes, and looked me straight in the eyes, saying, "I want a drink. Anyone else needs something to drink? I'm going to go down to the bar and get a drink, and then I'll come back and hopefully we can talk about it. Like adults." Audrey then stood up, went into the bathroom, got dressed, and left the room. As soon as the room door slammed behind Audrey, Karen said, "You look delicious." Karen, now is definitely not the time. Karen climbed off the bed and stood between my legs. "Karen, I appreciate your offer, but your sister will be back soon. What she doesn't know won't hurt her." Now I just needed to get Karen to stop. I was arguing with myself in my mind when Karen suddenly hugged me and pulled me onto the bed. She screamed loudly, "Please stop." The door to the room burst open and Audrey ran in, holding the phone in front of her. "What are you doing to my sister?" "Karen, he attacked me. Make him stop." Audrey pushed me, gave me a big smile, and dropped the phone on the carpet. When she picked it up, I saw her press the end button for the video. She then made a few more clicks, which I assume was sending the video to the cloud. "Audrey, now you're in trouble. I took a video of you. Thank God I decided to go back to the room. I came just in time to save her." They both laughed at this, so I sat back in my chair, looking dejected. Audrey, waving her finger in my face, said, "This is how the divorce will work. First of all, there is no more postnuptial agreement. If you mention a postnuptial agreement, I'll send you to jail. I don't want to do that. You're only getting this chance for the sake of the kids. Secondly, I want 90% of everything, and you pay all the lawyer's fees. I get full custody of the children, 50% of the child support, and I want 20% of the child support for the rest of my life. What am I saying? Me, my sister, and this video will see you in court, and you will go to jail for assault. Got it?" Yes, I underestimated Audrey. This final plan was obviously her main goal. A very smart girl indeed. Karen quickly got dressed. "Come on, Audrey." 10 minutes ago, Audrey was crying over the love I had lost. Now she was leaving the room with her sister, both laughing at me. I watched from the window of the room until I saw them leave. Then I got dressed, took my pen, and left the hotel. The meeting went much better than I had hoped. The next day, Audrey was served with divorce papers. The postnuptial agreement had to be fully respected. When Audrey called and threatened me with her recording, I told her, "You didn't delete everything, and I didn't show you everything. You blame me, I'll be free the next day, and you'll end up in jail." Like I said, Audrey is a smart girl. At this time, there were too many unknowns to use her video from the hotel meeting. I knew she would wait and watch before showing her trump card. We both hired lawyers. I didn't make any concessions. I wanted everything that was stated in the postnuptial agreement to be followed. I provided my attorney with transcripts of all my records prior to the postnuptial agreement. My lawyer told Audrey's lawyer that due to unforeseen circumstances, we are restoring the records that Audrey deleted, and for now we only have transcripts. We circled a lot around lawyer negotiations. I didn't care. I planned for Audrey to pay for everything. Audrey also had an expensive lawyer. Apparently, she thought I would pay for everything. Eventually, the lawyers gave up and set a day in court. The questions were, is a postnuptial agreement applicable? Do I have any actual records? A few days before the trial, I had a special courier deliver registered letters to Audrey and Karen at Karen's home. The letter was a forgery, but an excellent forgery. It came from the Centers for Disease Control, which told Audrey and Karen that shortly before his death, her then lover had come into contact with someone who had AIDS, and that test results confirmed that he had contracted the disease. They informed my wife that she should see a doctor immediately and that a representative from the Centers for Disease Control would contact her to obtain a list of all of her sexual partners in the past 12 months. It also stated in no uncertain terms that she should not have sex for the next 12 months until it was determined that she had not contracted the disease. On the day of the trial, the judge was not pleased with either of us. Audrey protested her innocence and that she had not violated the prenuptial agreement. In fact, she stated that the marriage contract was signed under duress. She had never committed adultery, but she was so afraid of losing her children and husband that she signed the agreement without even reading it or seeking advice. She was afraid of the transcripts, believing they might be admissible in court. In other words, I deceived her. She cried very convincingly while her lawyer spoke. I, on the other hand, stated that the postnuptial agreement was created because she was an adulteress. She only signed it under pressure from the divorce. She violated the marriage agreement. She was an unfit mother, and the postnuptial agreement was fair. Judge, what evidence do you have that she committed adultery? My lawyer prepared video and voice recordings to support the transcripts we had previously prepared. Judge, why are you producing videos and voice recordings now? We were able to obtain video and voice recordings only after a very long process. We had the original transcripts, but Audrey deleted the original transcripts. The process, as you know, to recover data using a certified process is very time-consuming. We just got the evidence here in the courthouse. Did Audrey delete the posts? Yes, Your Honor. We also have a recording of her confessing to this. I convinced Audrey to delete my posts. I deliberately told Audrey I had strict control over the entire video. After she set up her little camera in my office, I updated the recording and saved it in several places, including on a flash drive from my desk. Audrey figured she now knew where I kept all my copies. After Audrey deleted my copies, I tried my best to make Audrey feel like she had deleted everything and I was helpless. Now it was bearing fruit. Judges don't like people who deliberately remove evidence. Audrey also lied to the judge that she had never cheated and that I had no proof. Not a good start for Audrey. I understand. The judge asked my wife's lawyer, do the transcripts match the records? Yes, Your Honor. You want to challenge the authenticity of the recordings. Audrey's lawyer looked at Audrey, who shook her head slightly. No, Your Honor. This therefore answers the question of the validity of existence after marriage and nullifies any reason for compulsion to sign a contract. But I noticed that all these notes were made before the contract was signed. None of this constitutes evidence of adultery after marriage. Yes, Your Honor. Here is the transcript of the final video and the video itself, which proves Audrey's infidelity after signing the prenuptial agreement. Why is this also being done now? Until recently, this evidence was in police custody and has not yet been returned to my client. It was part of an accidental death investigation. We weren't 100% sure the video still existed. The judge asked Audrey's lawyer, have you had a chance to view the video? Yes, Your Honor, but we believe the video is inappropriate because there is no consent form, and if the video is allowed, there is no evidence that the video was not recorded before the prenuptial agreement was signed. My lawyer. First, The video was filmed on a public balcony where there is no expectation of privacy, so a consent form is not required. Secondly, we can also prove the time and date of the event. Judge, how is that? It's simple. My client paid for the plane tickets for Audrey, Karen, and her lover, as well as the hotel room they used for their secret rendezvous. This got me a few looks. Judge, did you consent to your wife's affair? She never asked my permission. But no, I never agreed or condoned her illegal activities. Then how did you pay for their plane tickets and hotel room? Before the video, I ran into her lover and asked him how much money he would need to stop dating the mother of my children. I also pointed out that he might lose his job. He told me $2,000 tickets to Jamaica and a 3-night stay at a 5-star hotel. We agreed and I bought ticket vouchers and he kept his word and used the air show and hotel vouchers in Florida. The following week, after my wife was out of town for a conference that weekend. Judge, how do we know this is the right hotel? In the first photo, you can see the hotel sign in the background. How did you get this video? I paid for it. As soon as I found out about my wife's affairs, I asked him for proof. He was kind enough to provide me with visual evidence. Why did you collect this evidence? Divorce. Did your lover know why you were collecting this information? Yes, several months ago, I explained to him that I thought it would be easier and cheaper to get my testimony directly from him rather than from a private individual. Even though I ended up paying him to stop committing adultery with my wife, he called and said he wanted to sell me another video, and I paid him $500 for it. Audrey broke the post-nuptial agreement. If you need someone to testify based on the authenticity and date of the video, my wife's sister is sitting right there. I pointed at Karen, and everyone in the courtroom turned to look at Karen. Wow, I found something that Karen didn't seem to like. The judge reprimanded me for using obscene language, and I apologized. The judge then asked, "Is that all you got from your wife's lover that night?" Looking directly into Audrey's eyes, this is all that happened from that night, but he provided me with most of the records you have today. He's been doing this for months now. Including hotel and airfare, I paid him about $3,000. Audrey looked like her head was going to explode. My testimony about her lover made her look like a complete idiot. My testimony led her to believe that almost the entire time she was having fun with him, he was recording their sex and conversations in order to make money by selling them to her husband for her divorce. For a measly $3,000, Audrey would pay him 10 times more not to make the video. Even though she was angry, I could see the wheels turning in Audrey's head. That must be all the videos he has. I was too wary of him to write anything down about our recent meeting at the hotel. If he had anything else, he would have produced it already. When I finished speaking, I saw Audrey make a hasty decision. Audrey began to whisper in her lawyer's ear. Her lawyer asked for a short break. As we were approaching lunch, the judge allowed it. When we returned, Audrey's lawyer stated that he had just received a video that showed me committing a terrible crime, and it reflected on my character. It would also show that I had committed adultery, which was enforceable in the postnatal period. Both Audrey and Karen were willing to attest to the authenticity of the video. The judge asked Audrey and Karen to verbally confirm the authenticity of the video. Audrey then explained, "Up until this point, my sister, and I didn't want to put the father of my children in jail. But now that I understand how manipulative he is, I have to do the right thing." They showed the video to Audrey. He started showing the hotel door, and someone was screaming, "Please stop." Audrey then burst into the room, showing me on top of Karen, and Audrey screamed, "What are you doing to my sister?" And then Karen screamed, "He attacked me, make him stop." Audrey then grabs her sister. Her phone falls onto the carpet, and the video ends. "What happened then?" asked the judge. "I locked myself in the bathroom and told my husband that if he didn't leave the room in 2 minutes, I would call the police. I also told him that I had already uploaded the video to the cloud, so he couldn't delete it." "And he left?" "Yes. Now I had big problems. I looked back and saw Audrey's father and mother, who were looking at me with suspicion. Luckily, my parents were at home with the children. I felt sorry for Audrey's parents. The judge looks at me. Well, what can you say in your defense? My lawyer, we have a video to refute it. Let's see it. Audrey's lawyer jumped out of his seat and tried to discredit the video before it was shown. Judge, so let me get this straight. You can present your surprise video of the hotel meeting, but we are not allowed to see their surprise rebuttal video of the same hotel meeting. Is that what you're trying to say? The judge even grinned. Audrey's lawyer sat down quietly. Audrey had already turned noticeably pale. I could hear her thoughts as if they were written on her forehead. Crap, this must be a recording from the bathroom. I even put one of my recorders under the bathroom door, and all I could hear was a few mumbled words through that fucking towel he put under the door. The video started with us discussing stripping because of recording devices. The video ended with Audrey and Karen walking out the door laughing. For a few moments, when I mentioned in the video that our justice system does not support marriage, the judge looked at me sadly. The look in his eyes told me that he was also a victim of his wife's infidelity. Was he acknowledging the sorry state of our justice system regarding the honoring of marriage vows, or perhaps both? As the video played, Audrey accused me of killing her lover. Audrey became agitated and began whispering something in her lawyer's ear. Finally, her lawyer looked at her and shook his head. No. Before we presented the video, my lawyer also confirmed that I did not incriminate myself with any of my statements in the video. Audrey's lawyer was telling Audrey that nothing I said was an admission of guilt. This answer must have been killing Audrey. I know her first goal was too sweet to convince me to forgive her. Her second goal in the meeting was to trick me into testifying regarding Dusha's death. And Audrey's master plan, the fake attack on Karen, was now backfiring on Audrey. It was sad that Audrey seemed to think she could outsmart me. She seemed to think that her novel proved that she was smarter than me. But she didn't outsmart me. I trusted her. She hid her affair behind the trust I placed in her. Now that trust has disappeared. Karen tried to sneak away when the video showed her suddenly wrapping her arms around me and pulling me onto the bed. The bailiff grabbed her and sat her back down. I was wrong. Audrey was truly ashamed. I know she heard her parents sign behind her. Relatives left the court before the video ended. They had heard and seen enough. Audrey would never get help from her parents again, and Audrey knew it. After the video was completed, the judge ruled that the marriage agreement would take effect as prescribed. My lawyer then told the judge that we had recently learned that Audrey had a secret bank account that she had not disclosed during the discovery process. The account had more than all our other assets combined. Audrey told me that she receives a check every 4 weeks. Instead, she received a paycheck every 2 weeks and deposited all other paychecks and most of her bonuses into her secret account for years. She also recently took all the equity out of our house with a second mortgage and put it in a hidden account, but I asked my lawyer not to tell the judge or Audrey about this. My lawyer just turned over my bank account balance to the judge. The last transfer looked like Audrey had transferred our mortgage funds to her secret account and was planning to run. This greedy mistake is officially the reason why the bank and lawyers discovered Audrey's secret account. The second mortgage transfer was actually my job. All this is done online through Audrey's login from her phone. I discovered Audrey's account the first day I installed the monitoring program. Hidden funds not disclosed during the divorce discovery process are regulated by a special law. The judge exercised his discretion as a matter of law to give me 100% of the asset, and she was required to pay 100% of all attorneys' fees and court costs. Luckily for me, Audrey was greedy and transferred all the property in the house to her secret account. Now I won't have to pay her half the share in the house according to the judge's decision. The judge then sentenced Audrey and Karen to 90 days in jail for perjury. As a result, I received 95% of all property, 100% custody of the children, a house, 2 of the best cars out of 3, and alimony for several years. I still have my life, a successful career, and, most importantly, my children trust me. The 5% she received did not even cover half of the attorney and court fees. She received her clothes, car, and jewelry. Unfortunately for her, I sold all of her expensive jewelry within the first month after I found out about her affair. We were happily married when I sold them. They were in the safe, and I stopped taking Audrey with me anywhere. She had no reason to wear them, so she never noticed anything was missing. She also couldn't prove that I sold them. I objected that she had sold the jewelry and was trying to blame me. I bought my dream car with money from jewelry and money from my accident insurance. I had been saving money for jewelry for months to combine it with the car accident settlement I was hoping to receive. If I had not received compensation, it would have meant that I was driving too fast when I hit the tree, and the money would have been used to cover my funeral expenses. Audrey tried her best to stay close to the children. Given her reputation, good jobs were scarce, so she had to commute about an hour away through several towns. They never forgave their mother and were ashamed of being seen with her. Both Audrey and Karen could only find work as bar waitresses. I also sent a lover's last words to 6 husbands of 7 wives. From time to time, drunken messages from my ex-wife are left on my phone. On rare occasions, voicemails and videos are accompanied by Audrey saying she wishes I was dead, accusing me that her life is my fault, or that someday she will take revenge on me. However, usually the messages and videos are accompanied by Audrey crying, telling me that I am the love of her life, begging for my forgiveness, and hoping that someday we can be together again. I save every video and message in case Audrey ever decides to try to come back into our children's lives. I admit that my wife never truly loved me the way I loved her. She never knew and will never know what true love is. For her, life is measured by how much you take, not how much you give. You didn't think the end would be my ex-wife accepting her fate, did you? I have a restraining order against her and her crazy sister. I think they may still have some animosity towards me. Subscribe to our channel so that your love doesn't cheat on you, and go ahead and listen to the next story, because this story is nothing compared to the next one. If you're under 18, don't even think click to the next one.